Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, welcome back to my school recap video. My hair is trash, and I will continue by recapping Form 6, which is also the last the last year of my secondary school life. 6 years. This is year number 6, from 2019 to 2020. I am 17 years old right now, and school is already over for me. School is already over ever since May 11th, after the DSEs are finished. I mean, technically. I mean, if you don't count the DSE results release day, which is a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Let's talk about Form 6. Now, I will do a recap of the past 5 years. Very quick. So, I joined the secondary school in 2014, and during Form 1, I was a socially awkward person who didn't know how to really communicate or fit in the society. And I was also a really paranoid person. I was really sensitive towards strange people, in that if someone acts strange, if someone hides a dark, dirty secret, I would have a feeling that someone is hiding something, and I would write about it. And I would collect all these information in my diaries. And in Form 1, at first, I didn't have a lot of friends, even though a lot of people have already made friends, but eventually I made friends with a girl named Bernice, because I and Bernice are also, I was under the threat of a very evil, back then very evil and dangerous and insane girl, Natalie, who's also really smart, and Bernice hates Natalie. So me and Bernice, we have a common goal: to eliminate Natalie. We didn't completely eliminate her because that's impossible at that point. And then afterwards, I became friends with Cedric as well as Mary. Cedric was a good person in the core, but he was also very dependent, and he relies on everyone a lot, and he's always stuck in the middle between conflict, and he always had to follow the stronger team. And that is why he had basically betrayed me like twice or thrice. And I still respect him, and he's still one of my closest friends nowadays. And then we have Mary, who's this really seductive, very soft, very nice girl. But actually, while she's a good person, she actually holds a bit of darkness in her mind as well. Now, with that being said, there is a fallout between Bernice and Mary. Mary left our team. Now it's only me, Bernice, and Cedric. Bernice and Cedric started dating, and then afterwards Cedric betrayed me. And back then I was afraid of people like Jordana and Linda, who are powerful but dark people. They are strong, fast, and they're very powerful. And I was really afraid of them. And one day, because Cedric betrayed me and told everything about me to Jordana and Linda, and not everything, but they told Jordana and Linda that I was researching them. And then, so after Jordana passed out, after getting a heat stroke, I decided to open up to Jordana and actually befriend Jordana and Linda. Moving over to Form 2, I was still a really socially awkward person and is still really weak and vulnerable, but I have started to grow. So because I and Jordana and Linda become friends, Bernice became jealous, and so Bernice declared war on me, Jordana, and Linda. And then Cedric broke up with Bernice, so Bernice also declared war on Cedric. And Keith actually helped Bernice attack us. And Miss Solomon and Mr. Thompson and Bernice's mom also are on the side of Bernice. And Mr. Thompson and Miss Solomon are two of the most infamous and notorious teachers in our school, or the number 1 and number 3 most infamous. The number 2 one, she never taught me, but I heard she's really bad, because she's like the chief teacher of one specific department, and she constantly kicked people out, like teachers out of the school. Okay, Miss Solomon is the worst, and so therefore there's this war that happened for 2 to 3 months, and it's me, Jordana, Linda, Natalie, Cedric, and Jeffrey versus Bernice and Keith and Miss Solomon and Mr. Thompson and Bernice's mom. And I and Natalie actually teamed up, which is crazy. But we were such an unstable team in the second half of Form 2. Natalie, Jordana, Linda, Jeffrey, and Cedric, they decided to abandon me and bully me to submission, and then afterwards still keep on destroying me to a point where I admit that I'm wrong, I admit that I'm stupid, I admit that I'm useless, and they have to continue to attack me. And it's not like haha you're dumb, haha, like bullying in a school kind of way. Like in a way they actually have a point in that I was too paranoid, I overthink a lot, and at the end of the day I'm actually not that useful of a person. And then towards the end we have the Civil War where all of us come back together, and I was really happy about this, and I have changed as a person for better and worse at the same time. Better because I am now woke. Like I woke up from being someone paranoid and who overthinks a lot to someone who is ready to embrace the reality. And also for worse because I became more afraid socially. And then moving over with Form 3 where I changed from 1C and 2C to 3A where almost everyone is different. And I managed to become friends with Leo, and I also met up with Anne and Zara as well. Anne and Zara actually had a huge argument, mainly because of Anne, and Miriam and Zara, they're together, so it's Anne versus Miriam and Zara. And then in the second half of Form 3, I started to become interested in a girl named Mary, which I just talked about. There are all these myths and rumors revolving around her, which makes her super mysterious and ambiguous, and I really like that. And then in Form 4, we have 4A, except everyone's changed. A lot of people from 3E moved over to 4A. Jordana's in 4A, Natalie's in 4A. And there are tons of things happening in Form 4 and Form 5. But essentially what happened from Forms 4 to Forms 5 is that it's depressing. I try to socialize with people, and I try really, really hard. But at the end, I cannot make a single friend, in that no one seemed to really care about me, no one wants me, no one needs me, and I have no one to talk to. Everybody hang out with their friends, everybody have fun, but not me. Everybody forgets about me, and I always feel like a loser because of that. I always feel lonely and empty, and I always feel sad because of that. Form 5 is the saddest year for me, actually. Yeah, even though there are good things happening, certainly. Once in a while, there's someone is nice towards me, and I really appreciate that. But for most of the time, people just ignore me. People just forget about me, and sometimes they even troll me, which I didn't take really well, because I'm that socially awkward, and I didn't have the balls or the guts to troll back and be like, haha, psych. And at the end of Form 5, I wanted to become friends with Natalie again, because I and Natalie and Cedric, we argue with one another so many times during Forms 4 and 5, and in Form 5, Cedric basically left the school and studied in Scotland. So it's just me and Natalie had her own life. She dated many people, broke up many times, and had gone insane many times, and a lot of people care about her, and I just don't have anyone to speak to. We have Leo and Pink as well. Okay, so in Form 4, Tyrus and Cedric, they were friends. Tyrus was really mean towards me, so I and Tyrus, we had beef. However small the beef was, at the end, I kind of won, technically. But Tyrus is actually a really good person, and Tyrus used to date Pink, but they broke up because Pink was and is very suicidal, very depressive, and kind of crazy as well. So Tyrus couldn't stand that. And then later on, Leo and Pink, they started dating, and they are still dating at this current moment. And at first, I was actually kind of friends with Leo, but then Leo had his own life now. But Pink was actually really nice towards me. So at the end of Form 5, I and Natalie and Leo and Pink, us four, we were actually pretty close, but not close enough to form a new group of friends where we hang out together and all that. Like, I'm still very much the outsider. I'm still very much the person being ignored, being abandoned. So that is Forms 1 to 5. This recap is 11 minutes long, but it's worth it, okay? A lot had happened. Also, if you haven't learned about the Asian education system and how it works, for each form there are 5 classes, A, B, C, D, E. And here's how it's going to work. All the students in the class have the same class schedule, okay? They take the same Chinese class at the same time from the same teacher. They take the same English class from the same English teacher at the same time. And each class have different schedules. And we are assigned to that class, and we stay in that class. And the teachers, they come to us. That's why I'm in A class, and that never changes. And our class, and each class has their own 2 class teachers. However, there is an exception, is that sometimes we have elective classes. And for A class, we have 2 elective classes. Actually 3, but one of them is compulsory, so actually 2. Physics or economics, and biology or computer sciences. I picked physics and biology. So while I'm having biology class, every other person in my class who's not studying biology will go to the computer room and have their computer class. Yeah, and that same thing goes for physics and economics. Alright, now that's put aside. Let's talk about Form 6, the last year of my school life. For the past 5 years, my school life has been nothing but a tragedy. There aren't that many good things that happen to me. Like, I'm not gonna say that my school life is the worst out of all the people in my form, but it's got to be close, right? A lot of people get to have friends, they get to hang out, they have friends WhatsApp group, and I used to have 2 friends WhatsApp group as well in Forms 1 and Form 2, but I fucked up and they all left, and then afterwards it's just pure loneliness. And this feeling is terrible. Loneliness is a very, very, very painful feeling when you really want to share your thoughts and express your emotions, but you have no one to speak to and no one to express your emotions to because you don't expect anyone to understand. So these negative emotions, they accumulate and they're suffocating you. You can't breathe. Form 6 is the year that I finally figured out how to get out of this, and that is by opening up to people. So Form 6 is actually the most satisfying year out of all 6 years. Pretty much a lot of good things happened to me in this year, but also the fact that it's the last year, and also the fact that 1/3 of the entire year is actually just exams, and also the fact that coronavirus exists. I didn't have much time to enjoy my life, the rest of my school life. So it's still a shame. That is only towards the very, 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 very end am I able to break free. But that's only at the end. So I could have broken myself free right at the beginning. Or it doesn't have to be the beginning, maybe in Form 3. Maybe I can set myself free from this curse of social fear. But no, I only broke free at the very end. I could have enjoyed my school life for so much longer, but I didn't. And that's a damn shame. So anyways, we'll move over to the first big incident of Form 6 that happened immediately in the beginning, and that is how we're infamous now. If you see my school update videos, you'd see that one video where I'm like, yes, and we're infamous now, because ever since June 2019, There are the protests in Hong Kong. So the people are divided between the people who support the police and the government and the people who support the protests. So of course, me, and basically almost every single teenager in Hong Kong and university student as well are also pro-protest, and a lot of adults are too. But yeah. So what happened is that the manager of our school, she's the daughter of the CEO of one of the biggest companies in Hong Kong, one of the biggest and richest companies in Hong Kong, who sponsored Starbucks and I forgot the name of the restaurant, but it's a Japanese restaurant where you eat beef rice, and also other restaurants. And the CEO and the daughter herself, who's a really old woman now, they are very, very pro-China and pro-government, and because of this, our school had gone under a lot of heat, especially when rumors broke out that the school is not allowing us to protest, when in fact the school does allow it. But after this rumor broke out, someone made a post in the forum LIHKG, and on September 4th, there are many reporters outside our school gates, and it was the most intense thing ever. Like, this is the most intense thing ever since, I don't know, but this is the biggest thing that had happened to the school in these 6 years. The entire school is under fire. And we were all super concerned, worried, like, what's gonna happen? Are the cops gonna storm in and beat us up and kill us or something? Like, I don't know. We don't know. But what happened was that when we entered the school, and by the way, at that time I was late because all the roads, they were blocked. I couldn't take the bus, so I was kind of late. And then when I entered, it was the whole thing. There was just a crowd outside of the school. Some of them most of them are reporters. Some of them are protesters supporting our students, us. And then afterwards, me and alongside a bunch of people, we stood behind the school gates and sort of protested. Okay, so I have my diary out, and I will speak in detail of what exactly had happened. So, 3 p.m. on September 3rd. There is a team of people in our school, and they are actually even more popular than the student union themselves. They are the anti-extradition team. They are the political spokespersons of our school, and there's a lot of people in the team, and they're sort of a secret team. Like, it's formed between a lot of different students from different classes from my form, so I probably know all of them, but I don't know who are in the team. But if I know, I know all of them. I know that Wendy's in it, maybe Ernest's in it, Ben is definitely in it, and he's a nice dude. He's a really nice dude. So is Ernest, and Wendy's a really nice person as well. Vera was in it, who was my classmate in Form 3, and her boyfriend is also in it. I'm pretty sure of that. So anyways, this team of people had a very formal meeting with the teachers, discussing the arrangements for skipping classes, or more like not taking the classes, but instead protesting. Not on the streets, but in a room, sitting down in silence. And then the school manager showed up in the meeting. She said, if you don't skip the classes and protest, I can offer you university quotas. So the school manager is basically bribing us or bribing the people in the team. If you do skip the classes and protest, we have the right and the authority to kick you out of the school, and if the teachers protest, we have the right to fire them. Which is ridiculous. The school manager is threatening students. An old woman is threatening a bunch of teenagers to not protest and support the movement, and bribing them. That is a weak move. That is a weak ass move, okay? Even I am angry with this. I mean, everyone's angry with this, but I am also very angry with this. So on the next day, the tension is super high. We arrived to school, and a bunch of people were protesting. They stood there, and I was late, but it wasn't considered late because the entire school system is destroyed already. Like, no one cares if you're late or if there's something wrong with your uniform. No prefect is going to come up to you and say, oh, improper uniform, oh, you're late. No one's going to say that. No one cares anymore. We're on a different level now. Even Mary's also really outspoken on this issue, and Mary's really pro-protest. And also Cedric's super outspoken as well. And I also stood by and protest for a bit, and then most of them went to an empty room to continue the protest in silence, and I went back to my classroom to study because I have to study at the end of the day. That is the infamous incident. I kind of feel bad for our principal because this is like this is his first year, and he has to deal with so much shit. This protest and then the virus, I feel bad for him, really. Okay. What also happened in September is that Pink opened up to me. Back in Form 5, while I and Pink and Leo, we weren't that close, we almost become close friends, but at the end we didn't really. So it was September 6th. I and Leo and Pink left school, and we started talking to one another, and Pink started off the conversation really strangely, because again, Pink, I'm not gonna say she's crazy, because everyone have reasons to believe in something. You can't call me crazy for thinking that there are people with superpowers among us. You can't call me crazy because everyone has a reason to believe in what they believe in. Everyone has logic behind what they believe in. Everyone follows certain evidence. Pink told me that she can see the future sometimes, which I don't think is true. Like she has superpowers or something. I already abandoned that my belief out of the window already a long time ago. But in a sense, Pink is, I guess, really good at reading the situation and what's going on, yet she's always bogged down by mental issues and all that. And then we started talking to one another, and I've been waiting to do this thing for an entire year already, because back in Form 4, I and Cedric, we care so much about Pink. We go to school very early just to make sure she didn't kill herself. So I told Pink about what I and Cedric did, and Pink opened up to me and said how Matt humiliated her, and how one day when Pink and Anne, they were fighting, Pink stole Cedric's knife and cut herself in the bathroom and almost died. It wasn't Queenie's scissors, it was Cedric's knife. And I and Pink, because we opened up to one another, we became really close afterwards. And I and Leo and Pink, we became friends, actually. Yeah, we actually, even now, I speak to them quite occasionally, We're not super duper close, but close enough to be good friends. Yeah, and Pink is really nice. Like, she's really, really, really nice person. On September 7th, it is my birthday, and for 3 years, I have been wanting to speak to Mary. I just want to speak to her. I just want to say something to her. It doesn't matter what it is. I just want to speak to her, have a conversation with her, and have her react to me. Because I like her, okay? And at that point, it's already been years. And I always tell myself this, you know what? I will speak to her this week. And I always fail. I always say, you know what? I may speak to her this week, and I always fail. I always fail. Even now, okay? Even now, I still fail a lot now. But back then, also, you know? So it was September 7th, it was my birthday, and just so happens that we have a biology field trip. All the people who take biology, aka almost all the people in A class and almost all the people in C class, we will take a long school bus ride to some country park, and we're going to the river, and we're going to collect the water samples. We're going to run, pH tests, and also ammonium content tests and all that stuff. And we're going to try to catch some fish. And we're gonna look at those fish, and we're gonna look at the plants. We're gonna play some quadrats, and we're gonna just, observe the environment, learn about how the environment is affecting how the animals are living, the organisms are living, whatever. So we arrived there, and essentially what happened was that, so me, Ronald, Oliver, Andy, and Dean, we were in the same group. And we went into the river, we got dirty, and it was a lot of fun. It was a fun biology field trip. And we were all having fun. We didn't swim because it's really dirty water. Because natural water is usually dirty if you're in Asia. Maybe it's not the case in other places, in other continents, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, right behind me is Mary's group. I see Mary, and Mary's with Selena, Suki, Iris, and they were all having fun, playing with the water, like, ooh, and Mary's on the side, like, it's not that Mary's trying to be, like, evil or different or anything, but Mary's, like, a little reserved, Mary does everything with style and class. And, at one point, we were at the test table. Like, there's a table and it's full of these tests, and Mary was half a centimeter away from me. I could feel her breathing. I could feel her heartbeat. I could almost smell her. I could almost feel her soft hair gently brushing against my shoulder. But I just couldn't speak to her. I just could not. I just couldn't. I even spoke to random people whom I've never spoken to. But not her. Just can't. At the very end, we were playing around with magnifying glasses, and again, given that I'm the detective, and fun fact, Mary is the girl who called me detective, also Bernice. Anyway, magnifying glass, and we tried to magnify the sunlight and focus the light on someone's hand, and for long enough, it actually hurts, it actually burns. I tried that, and it actually burns. So I did that to Oliver, and Oliver's like, whoa! So Oliver did that to Mary, and Mary didn't know that it was my idea or anything, and I was beside Mary and Oliver when I saw Oliver doing the sunlight thing to her arm, and it was a lot of fun, but yet I didn't speak to her once. And then afterwards, for some reason, the Potato Gang also, okay, now, gosh darn it, because if you haven't seen my Form 5 videos, okay, basically there are 5 gangs in my class, 5 to 6. Gang number 1, Potato Gang. They are the gang of athletic, handsome, popular Chads, okay? Oliver, Dean, Edward, Grant, Kingsley, they're Ronald, they're in Potato Gang. Bean Gang is also a boy gang, including Hans, Tom, AJ, Marty, Hector, Leo, and the only girl that is Pink. They are the virgins. They are actually smart. They're smart people, and some of them are actually really kind, but mostly they're not popular. They're just one of the lesser popular gangs. Okay, and then gang number 3 is Tofu Gang, which is Topher, Natalie, Leo, and Pink, except in the previous year in Form 5 they had a really ugly breakup. So now it's just Leo and Pink. They're in Bean Gang now, and Natalie, she's pretty much gangless, or actually not, because Natalie's also simultaneously in Carrot Gang, which is Natalie, Zara, Anne, and Olivia. Okay? And then gang number 5, we have Cheese Gang. Cheese Gang is Jordana's gang. Jordana originally was with Olivia and Anne, but very soon, later on in November, there's a very, very ugly breakup in the Cheese Gang. So Jordana is alone, and she's with Russell and Hans and Scooby now, which is a really strange combination, and don't really consider them as a gang. But yeah, maybe they're kind of a gang, but also not really. And then we have Onion Gang, which is the most stable gang. It is Suki, Selena, Russell, and Oliver. Occasionally Edward comes in, but Edward is actually in the gang now. And they are really friendly, really nice people. They always hang out. There are both boys and girls in the gang, and it's really nice. And they have ties with Mary, because Iris is Suki's friend, so Mary is Iris's friend. So Mary and Suki, they also become friends. So we have these gangs. So Potato Gang, after the field trip, invited me to go to Oliver's apartment, which is the very famous Drug Factory. Drug Factory, it's the name, and I've already been there a few times. So we went there, and Marty also got invited, and we were invited to play mahjong, except at that point I didn't know how to play mahjong, so I just sat there for 3 hours, but it was still fun, and I had lunch there. They kept on burping and farting and taking off their clothes, and Marty felt pressured because Marty's not in Potato Gang, so Marty took off his shirt and burped a lot because he tried to fit in, but I'm not gonna do that because I am me, and I'm staying true to myself. And at the end, I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed my stay. A lot of people may think, oh, high school is full of bullying. That's actually not true. Don't let Netflix fool you. Don't let TikTok fool you, okay? In high school, well, for me anyways, bullying, it's immature. It's considered immature, and everyone knows this. But when a team of people collectively hate one person, we don't bully that person. We just express our hate and move on. And usually gangs of boys, jocks, they're actually nice people. Anyways, afterwards I went back home, showered, filmed an album review, and then went to the Central District and had a Greek and Middle Eastern dinner, and then afterwards I watched Parasite with my aunt, and it's fantastic. It is a great, 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 great day. So that is the September 7th. And then towards the end of September, we have one incident that fucked me up really bad. Okay, so there are many more occasions where I try to socialize with people, and I try to speak to Mary, but fail every single time. At the end of September, Natalie decided to tell me what happened. And, what the hell is this? Wait a second. Okay, I'm reading something. September 20th, after school, Selena was observing class photos. Okay. September 19th, after school, I was trying to find Natalie in the mall. Turns out Leo and Pink and Topher are going to the same direction. I passed by Natalie and Anne. Oh, I know what happened. I'm not going to talk about this now. I'm going to talk about that later. Okay? I'm going to talk about that later. September 25th, nighttime. Natalie told me something, and you know how we need to grow up because we're teenagers and we're about to become adolescents? Each time I level up, it's like a jog to my brain. And I know, people see all these things in the movies, drinking, smoking, doing drugs, having a fight with someone, have sex, have a job, earn money, drive a car, buy a house or an apartment, get a wife. These are grown-up things. And every time someone around me does one of those things or something similar, I always get this jog, like, oh my god, people change, people grow up. I feel like I'm behind the curve. I feel like it's not very gradual. Some people may think, growing up is real gradual. We will learn how to, deal with, marriage, how to deal with money issues. It's not gradual. Like, it's always this sudden jog. And whenever someone, actually every time, it's like this every time. I'm actually a child, but the people around me, they always grow up. And every time I'm like, holy shit. Like, how could they do these things? Like, it's crazy. It's dramatic. It's too dramatic for me. So essentially, Natalie finally told me what she and Keith did at one night. And that is one day, Keith and Natalie are in Keith's apartment, and usually they would make out, play chess, and talk about how they want to destroy humanity. This time it's different. Keith suddenly took off his pants and jerked off in front of her. And I replied, well, he just jerked off to you and you just stood there? That's kind of weird. That's kind of awkward. And then Natalie said, no, that's not the end of the story. Now, I'm not going to continue because I'm going to kill myself if I continue the story. One thing I can assure you is that Natalie did not lose it on that day, or at least according to her. But still, it was close. And after that, I didn't speak to Natalie for a few days. I just couldn't accept this fact. I just couldn't. And I don't even want to think about that anymore. I just felt like, oh my god. Like, people, they really grow up and they're doing adult things. Like, it's hard for me to accept this. So there's that. Now, moving over to October. On October 6th. So I just mentioned how on September 20th, I and Leo and Pink and Topher, we were walking in the mall, right, in the corridor, and beside it, it's Starbucks. And usually I don't go to Starbucks after the protests and all that stuff. But Natalie and Anne, they are in Starbucks. They're sitting down, and I saw Natalie, and I smiled, and I did this. And the reason behind is that at that point, I and Natalie were pretty close. We're friends. And I and Leo and Pink were also friends. And Leo and Pink, they're friends with Topher. Topher had a very ugly breakup with Natalie. So I was kind of there like I was a spy. And another reason why that this is happening is because Natalie and Anne and Olivia, they are beginning to realize that Jordana is actually a sick, twisted, manipulative psychopath. That Jordana likes to use people, hurt others for her own benefits. Jordana is a toxic person, very mean, pathological liar, lies through her teeth, wears a mask. Jordana is a dangerous person, and Jordana is not a good friend at all. Anne finally realizes that because in like a few months ago, actually a year ago, before that, in 2018 November, Jordana, Anne, and Olivia, they all hated Natalie and started a war against Natalie, which is very stupid. And now Anne and Olivia, they began to realize that Jordana actually sucks. Jordana and Anne argued, essentially. And they argued outside of the classroom. And everyone was there. I mean, everyone important anyways. Russell, because Russell is Jordana's close friend at that point. Close friend, when in fact Russell is just a pawn in Jordana's twisted chess game. Russell is a good person, really nice. I love talking to him, and Russell, there's nothing going on between Jordana and Russell. Like, if you think Jordana is horny, Jordana is very much the opposite of horny. She's afraid of sex. She's afraid of blood. She doesn't like dirty things. She likes to be innocent and kind and cute. You know? Anyways, Topher was out there as well, because Topher still secretly loved Natalie. And Natalie was there because Natalie's friends with Anne. And Topher also simultaneously started to become close with Anne. So Russell, Natalie, and Topher, they were outside. And it was really intense outside. Like, they were shouting, crying. And I wanted to go outside, but every time I go outside, Topher's like, fuck off. You're not involved in this. None of your goddamn business. And I'm like, it's very much my business. I know a lot about Natalie and Jordana. Okay. And then Leo and Pink, Hans and Suki and Marty, all of them, they were really curious, like, what drama is going on out there? And I seem to know what's going on. Okay, Natalie stormed back into the classroom, started to cry, and then laugh hysterically, and then cry. Sat at the bottom of the in the corner of the classroom, and went insane basically. Suki and Zara went up to Natalie, and also I did, and we started talking to her, and I actually not sat beside her, but was kind of squatted beside her, like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? You know, yada yada, you know. So I'm in the game. And then on that day, Pink and Leo and Marty, they kept on asking me questions like, oh, what's actually going on? And that was a great moment. When I know something that others don't, when they have to acquire information from me, that is power, my friends. That is social power, and I enjoy every single moment of it. But I'm very much on Natalie's side. Like, I also agree with the fact that Jordana is a sick, twisted, dangerous person that should be gone, basically, because she's just making a mess. She's creating chaos. But yeah, there's that. Anyways, October 6th, I went to Ocean Park with my mom, my brother, and I actually bumped or stumbled into the girl that I met when I was doing the inner house quiz staff thing, who I said was very extroverted and friendly and stuff. So that's awkward, but she was really nice. But what's even more awkward is that I saw Cherry and her boyfriend. Cherry used to be Mary's friend, but they're not that close to one another nowadays, but they still talk, you know. And I saw Cherry, and at first I was really like, I just want to troll around, so I took a photo of them, and they don't know that I was there, and put it on Instagram, and I shouldn't have done it. I really think it was a bad decision. So like a few minutes after I put it up on Instagram, someone saw it, and Cherry's boyfriend, Cherry called me, but when I answered, it was no one. And then Cherry's boyfriend called me, who I don't know at all, had not speak to at all, who had never been in the same class as I am. So this is extremely awkward. He called me and said, could you please take down your Instagram story? And he was trying to be nice. Like, I can tell he's angry, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll delete it immediately. And then he's like, thank you. And then I deleted it. It was bad. I shouldn't have done it. But at least someone acknowledged my existence. And this is the only occasion Cherry and her boyfriend is sort of interacting with me. So at least there's that. But still, it wasn't a good thing, like, at all. On October 11th, we had a school picnic day where we once again went to a beach and had barbecue, and it's the last school picnic day ever. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to speak to Mary. I'm going to speak to Mary. And at last I didn't. But she was there. She was right in front of my eyes. But I didn't speak to her. So, what happened? Now, I and Grant, Jordana, Ernest, Leo, and a bunch of other people, we played ball. Now, I dislike Jordana, but it's a social activity. It's community good, so I joined. Whatever, am I right? I also helped out with washing stuff. I and Oliver and Scooby, we washed vegetables. I want to contribute. I don't want to stand around and be like an outsider. I want to do things for people. We put down our backpacks and set up a tent, and we were all in our PE uniforms, by the way. And then it was pretty fun. It wasn't like a very fun day. But it was not that bad, you know. But I still feel like a total loser because I didn't speak to Mary. So Natalie hated Topher a lot, and she says she wants to slam the barbecue rack on Topher's face and burn his face. And then at the same time, I realized that Caroline and Mary, they're not really talking to one another. Apparently there's a bit of an argument between them, or maybe a disagreement. They just stopped talking to one another. And I asked Oliver about it, and Oliver's like, yep, good observation, sir. That's true. And then I and Leo and Pink, we didn't have much to do, really, so we sat down under a tree, and we talked. And we played with a dog. So there's that. And then, actually, you know what? This picnic is not fun at all. I read this, but I said I almost cried. I felt angry, frustrated, and sad because I saw Wendy and Mary hanging out. Now, Wendy and Mary, they aren't really close, but they're hanging out. If they can hang out, why can't I and Mary speak? So I got really frustrated and angry. At one point, I suddenly feel really dizzy and nauseous. I couldn't stand up straight. It's because I drank apple tea, sugar cane juice, chocolate milk, and lemon tea on that day. Of course I felt nauseous, okay? But also, emotionally, I was also really down. And then, Weed Gang. Sammy, Yasmin, Joan, and their simps. 2 boys. They are the Weed Gang. They are that one group of people in your school who just smoke weed, have sex, party a lot, and pretend to be one of those trendy, popular girls. They openly opened a bottle of champagne in front of the teachers. They had the balls to do that. Drink alcohol in front of the teachers. They must have an average IQ of 50. So of course the teachers, they saw that, they stopped them, and they phoned their parents like, your kids, they're drinking alcohol. Which a lot of us, we actually drink alcohol. I don't, but Pink drinks a lot of alcohol, and a lot of us do, but not in front of the teachers. Why would you do that in front of the teachers? And also don't do it in the school picnic day, because in the school picnic day, teachers are gonna be there. Use your brain. They open a bottle of champagne. And it's just cringe. They deserve it, to be honest. They're dumb. But what also happened is that Anne got caught using her phone. Anne used to be this really innocent, pure, good girl. Goody two shoes, you may say. She got caught using her phone. And the teacher confiscated the phone and, gave her a black mark, And it was this huge thing. And Natalie said, "Oh, I think Anne was, I think it was someone who accused Anne of using her phone, and it may be Jordana, but it was never proven." But that's basically a school picnic. Okay, October 24th, Mary's birthday. Okay, Mary's birthday is on October 24th, and I'm like, if I can say something to Mary, it's today. I can say happy birthday to her, and she'll say thank you. She'll smile. She's gonna say thank you. She's gonna slap me in the shoulders and be like, haha, and leave. That's my plan. And this is also one of the saddest days of 2019 for me. I fucked up so bad on that day. So the weather was really nice on that day. I looked up to the sky, blue skies, almost no clouds, absolutely beautiful. And I'm like, perfect day to speak to Mary. And so I thought Mary's gonna go to our classroom during recess or lunchtime. In recess, she didn't. I know that she's close friends with Oliver and Suki, so I'm like, oh, she's gotta come, right? She didn't. So during lunch, I originally wanted to get takeaway so that I can immediately go back to the classroom and wait for the moment Mary comes in. So I went out for lunch. At the end, I didn't get takeaway because Nick didn't want to. So I had ramen in one restaurant, and in the ramen there is a cockroach. There was a huge dead roach in my bowl of ramen. But at that point I was thinking about Mary. I saw the roach and I just put it at the side and continued eating my noodles for a bit. I think it was actually very fucking disgusting. And then afterwards I'm like, fuck it, I'm not gonna eat it anymore. Like, the more I eat it, the more I'm like, fuck, stop. And then at one point I'm like, shh, just stop it, I'm not gonna eat it. So I just left, and I told the waiter this, and the waiter's like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? We're gonna give you a 90%. We're gonna give you a 10% off, which is really small, by the way. Like, they should have given me free, to be honest, because this is really ridiculous. An entire roach in noodles. You're joking, right? That is terrible. That is poor quality. I should not have paid, but I was like, Mary. So I at least 90%. I gave 90% of the money. So I went back to school, and then down there's an ambulance on the ground floor for some reason, and I was like, whoa, what the heck? I stayed there and looked a little bit, but then I was like, oh, Mary. So I ran up to the classroom, and while I was on the stairs, Mary and her friend walks by me. I froze. I couldn't speak. My mouth wouldn't open. I just looked at her, and I'm like, okay, shit, I just missed it. Maybe there's another chance after school. After I went back to the classroom, I cried. I didn't know what happened to me, but I froze. I couldn't speak. I just can't. I'm frozen. I cried, and then after school, I stayed around, and I saw that Mary's actually in a classroom. She's taking extra math class, and I was just meandering outside of that classroom, and occasionally I would walk back up to my own classroom when there's an extra Chinese class, and the Chinese teacher's like, hey man, if you want to go in, you can go in. What's all the fuss about? And I'm like, nah. And at the end, I saw Mary walk away, and I still did not speak to her. And people leave the classroom one by one. Like, Tyrus left, and originally I can hang out with Tyrus a little bit. But actually no, because I and him we weren't that close. Tyrus left, and I'm like, oh shit. Oliver left, and I'm like, what? You can't do that. Mary and Oliver, they're supposed to be close friends. But what happened was that Iris and two other girls, they were preparing a secret birthday surprise for Mary. And I was also waiting there, and I saw them preparing, and they saw me. But at the end, I didn't speak to Mary, and I felt really, really ashamed. and really sad about it. I made a very long video just talking about it. There's a video, my school update video, where I talk about how much of a loser I am. And on that day, I slept at around 12:45. I was so sad and so tired. Okay, to end off this section before I go to bed, Jordana is a thief. She stole erasers from the people around her, and everybody actually kind of knows this. It doesn't take a detective to know that Jordana is a thief, and she also steals other things like pens and all that stuff. Another thing is Pink had family issues, so Pink, again, one morning went to school and started to cut herself. She had like fresh cuts already, and she still felt very sad and hurt, and I could feel that sadness just by looking at her. And she even tried to use a pen to sort of cut herself. And I tried to stop her, like, hey, don't do it. Hey man, are you alright? I told Leo about it, and Leo's like, just leave her be. Because at the end of the day, while Leo is super smart and is a nice guy, Leo isn't really able to compute human emotions. And I don't blame him. I mean, his IQ is this high, super high. But it's Pink's family issues. Her mother and her father constantly yells at her, insults her, and she felt a lot of pressure about it. So what happened was that Pink's social worker told Pink to move. If your parents is the reason why you want to kill yourself, move. Don't see your parents ever again. And it got complicated because Pink wasn't 18 yet. Pink wasn't 18 yet. So Pink couldn't live with a person of opposite sex. It's illegal. That's illegal. So Pink had to move to a friend of hers first, who is actually dating Tyrus at the moment. But at the same time, Pink needs her parents' approval. So it got really complicated. And she didn't move out of her apartment for a very, very, very long time until just recently, like earlier this year in 2020. And now she's living with Leo for most of the time anyways. And she's in a really good place right now, emotionally. Except last week she was kind of suicidal, but I talked her out of it because I'm a good person. I'm a good friend. But yeah, Pink's family issues, summed up, simplified. Let's go. Alright. I guess I still have a little bit of time. I'm going to talk about the incidents that happened on November 11th. So the protests, they hadn't gotten better. They've gotten worse, actually. After July 21st, when the cops teamed up with the triads, criminals to beat up the protesters. After August 31st, when the cops stormed down a subway station and attacked people, and I'm not going to continue speaking because I feel like if I continue talking about this, my video will be taken down by some mysterious company in China. I just don't want to continue. But facts, okay? Now this is my final diary. I still haven't completed it, as you can see at the end, but it's almost complete. November 11th, when I was waiting for my bus, there was no bus. It didn't come. There was not a single vehicle on the road. There was a huge roadblock. There was a gunshot. Someone was shot in the chest. He's alive now, but it was one street away from me, and it was shocking. But what's more shocking is that after I go to school, people are panicking, people don't know what to do. We were angry. Like, I was late on that day, once again, the system didn't count me as late because a lot of people were also late, and we were all protesting as well behind the school gates. Suddenly, rumors came that 5 of us were arrested by the cops. And it's Wendy, Vera's boyfriend, and 2 other friend of theirs. They were in a nearby district placing roadblocks, sort of blocking the cop cars. And they were taken by the cops. And we were so worried, and we couldn't do anything. So they were stuck in the police station for 48 hours, essentially. But yeah, on that day, I wrote my diary, of course. I wrote a lot of information I know on the diary. And Ms. Hershey saw it, and Ms. Hershey just grabbed it, like, oh, what do you have there? And I'm not going to hide it like a loser. She saw it, and she's like, don't let anyone else read it. Don't let anyone else see it. Because she saw me writing about, who got arrested and whatnot, and what happened, the gunshots, and he's like, oh my god, it's very political, very controversial. And she's like, wow, it's very political, very controversial. And because of this, a lot of people actually wanted to read my diary. A lot of people went up to me and asked, hey, can you show me what's going on? And I'm like, yes.